With a full moon in the sky, how easy is it to capture a cool picture using only a mobile phone? I thought I'd give it a go and see what I could get. We're going to create a moon video tonight. Because the moon is super duper bright all the way up there, what we're going to do is get another scope out and use a mobile telephone with a mount on, see if we can take a video of it through the eyepiece, just eyepiece projection, and then process that and see what sort of picture we can come up with. So let's go and get the scope. To take these videos of the moon, the telescope was a Skywatcher 130 PDS using a 15mm eyepiece, and for the close-ups of the surface I used a 3x Barlow lens. The phone was held in a Celestron NexYZ mobile phone mount, and the telescope was mounted on an EQ mount which had a little motor on the right ascension to track the motion of the Earth. Okay, we've got loads of videos there. We're going to stack them together and see what images we can get. This is the basic processing of the moon using AutoStakkert. So we'll go into AutoStakkert first, and you get two windows. You have a picture window and you have kind of a controls window here. You're actually going to be using both of these two windows. So what we're going to do over here, I've got my files. I'm just going to navigate to the films that we took of the moon, and what we've got 3 or 4 movies here of the moon which we took. Now, because AutoStakkert can't use MOVs, what we have to do is convert them first of all, and we're going to convert them using a program called PIPP, which is here. This is PIPP. Now, PIPP is a super simple program, and what you do is you literally take your movie file and you drop it in, and it will appear there, and you'll get a little window as well. And what we're going to do is go to the Output Options tab. We want to convert it to an AVI file and leave everything else the same, and then we just click Do Processing and then click Start Process. And what PIPP has done in our file home directory, it's created a folder, and in that folder is where our video, once it's been processed, will appear. So when this has been through all the way to 100%, we will then have an AVI file. So we'll just let that do its thing. Okay, that's now done, that particular one, and I've got 2 more to do. So I'm going to actually do multiple files this time, so I'll remove that file there, and I'm going to add some. So I'm just selecting the files now, dragging them over, and we'll see 2 files appear. There they are. You can see one of them there, another one there. Output options again set as AVI here, and everything else left exactly the same. Do processing and stop processing. So now it's doing that, and over here we can see we've now got 5 files because there are 5 pictures, 5 videos, and then once these are processed we're going to put them into AutoStakkert and process them, stack the frames together, and I'll show you how to do that. PIPP has finished processing those videos now, and we can see it's done both of those 2 files, so we can actually close it out of PIPP now, and we'll see that in this last folder here it's got 2 movies because I did 2 batch processes at once, and this one's got 1 movie there, this one's got 1 movie there, and this one has 1 movie there, and they're all as AVI files, so I'll just pop that over to there. So we're now going into AutoStakkert, which is this program here, and it has 2 windows, and one is over here where you see the image, and the other one is kind of a general tools window. So what I'm going to do now is grab one of the files which we processed here, and we're going to just drop it onto here. So here's the AVI file. I'm literally going to click on it, drag it across and drop it on there. You can also click on the open and then navigate through to there to select the file. So we'll get rid of that window now. So now we can actually see the video which we took with the mobile phone, and it allows you to scroll through and you can see it move through, and you can also press play on that and you can see the wobbling from the Earth's atmosphere. Now what we now need to do is stack this image to get the final image, and hopefully that will be a much higher quality. So we'll just move that to one side at the moment. Now this window here allows you to select how to stack this final image. What we need to do is go through all these options. The first one is it's not a planet, it's the surface of the moon, so we click surface. Everything else remains the same and we click analyze. These videos are about 3 minutes long, so it takes a little while for it to go through all of its number crunching. Once it's done its initial analysis, you'll get this funny little graph here, and there's a 50% line going across. Now this is a quality graph, which is basically the quality of the images, and it takes into account whether they're any good or not. And you can see here that we've got the first 25% is good, and then at 50% they start to drop below. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to select here that I only want it to stack 50%, which seems really wasteful, but there's no point on stacking an image which is out of focus or not very good, because ultimately we're trying to get a good image of the moon's surface here. So if the graph says no, it's not good enough, throw it away. So 50%. In fact, I'm going to go 45% because that's very close. Just here, it's just below the 50. Now what we have to do here is tell the program which points on the moon's surface to align to. So we need to select alignment points. Now what you can do is you can draw them on. You can select manually draw and then click them as to where you want an alignment point. Well, I think it's actually better to let the program do it itself. So here you have different numbers. Now 24 is always a good starting point. When you click place AP or place alignment points, it then does some number crunching and you'll get lots of dots appear all over the surface like this. And if you select different numbers, you get different amounts. So when I select that one, it's put even more of them. So you have to play with these and sometimes go up and down until you get the correct number of alignment points. And sometimes you have to just clear the alignment points because there are too many of them. But I think by selecting, we've got 32, it's got loads of alignment points there, and you can see from the image it's covered them all quite nicely. So we've done everything. We don't need to, you can select other options, but we don't need to for this image because it's got enough detail. And I've never really had much success with sharpening, RGB align, and we'll be doing that afterwards anyway. So that's it. Let's click stack. And then it will do its thing. And because it's quite a big image file, the AVI file is quite long, it's got a bit of time to go through the referencing imaging, the image alignments, and then final stacking. So I will come back in a few moments once it's done all of this. AutoStakkert has now finished stacking that image, and what you get is another folder created by the program, and in there it has a high resolution picture of what you actually took. So this is the stacked image of that video file which we had a few moments ago. So AutoStakkert, we are now finished with you and we can close this program entirely. Now we've got this lovely image here which is great, but we can actually make this hugely better and emphasize all of these lovely craters and all the details on the surface. And that program is called RegiStax. So we go into RegiStax, and RegiStax in itself can stack images, but what we're actually going to do now is take the image that we've just stacked and we're going to reprocess it in RegiStax to try and make it much better and much sharper. So we'll go into here. Okay, so we're going to now drag into RegiStax the image. We just drag and drop and it appears, and it says, do you wish to stretch intensity levels? We just say yes, and it then shows us our image nicely there. And what we want to do now is show the full image, which is what we're doing there. Now on here it has 3 individual tabs. We want to go to the wavelets tab, and then it gives you 6 options down the side, and I always start at the bottom one, number 6. For some reason it seems to be a bit better, but what you need to do is drag that up. So what it's actually doing is it's got a virtual square in the middle here where it's actually increasing. If I pull that all the way up, you can see there's a box here where it's starting to process the data. And what you need to do is, you can't ruin an image with this, you just need to do enough. And each time you do each one of these, you'll find it brings up more detail in the image. And if you want to see what it actually looks like, you can just click do all, and then it goes in stages across the screen, reprocessing and bringing out that extra detail. And we can see now we've really got some detail on these craters here, which is fantastic. I'm actually quite happy with that. I think that looks pretty groovy actually. Not a bad image at all. I think that's good enough. So what I'm going to do is then the RGB balance. Now if you look here, you've got RGB, red, green and blue. If you click auto balance, it then gives you that grey that we always see on the moon. So I'm going to click do all again, and then it gives us that grey of the moon. Now you can do some fancy things with the RGB balance to create a false RGB image by emphasizing different colours, but I think that's good, and it's mainly the crater detail that I wanted. So I'm going to say save image. You can give it a different name, but for this exercise I'm just going to keep the same name. Great, so we've now processed it, we've got some additional information there as well. I'm now going to go into GIMP, which is a graphics program. And again, taking our image which we just processed, I'm just literally going to drag it. It's created the JPEG file from the last process, and drop it into GIMP. And there it is. So we've now got our image. Now you can see there's some artifacts here, and also I want to crop it to get rid of those artifacts. So all I'm going to do in this program is literally crop the file. So I'm just going to draw a box there, like that. That's the information I want. I'm getting rid of this black bit here, and then just press return. There it is. And then I'm going to go File, Export As, and then Export, and then replace the existing file, and then Export. And it's got those changes. So our final image looks like this, which I think is pretty cool for a mobile phone. So I'm going to go through now and do all of the images and then clip them together in a final cut at the end.